Hello, sweet darlings, and welcome to the Poison Tea Party podcast. If you thought you could get rid of us, well, you'd better make that poison stronger next time because we are back again. More scary and sweary than ever. And we're ready to tell you another juicy tale taken straight from the haunted halls of history.
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit.
Bitches.
I'm scared.
You should be.
Oh, God.
I'm your host, Janet. To my left, a girl who's too beautiful to be considered a homicidal maniac. My sissy, Trass.
Is that a factual thing?
It is.
That was so sweet.
Isn't that sweet?
That's so nice.
And to my right, a
what's
lady
mine
who...
gonna say? No, I'm just kidding.
Now it's going to say something different.
Yeah, it is. And to my right, a lady whose trashy country backtalk secretly makes her mama proud. My daughter, Kaylee.
Okay, I'll
Was
take
that-
it.
was
I'll
that
take
okay?
it. I'll take it.
accept it.
I'll accept it.
We're coming at you from deep inside your darkest nightmares. Grab your granny's teacup and pour your favorite poison because this shit's about to get heavy.
Fuck.
Heavy.
Scared. I'm scared.
You should be scared.
Oh, shit.
Before we get deep into the terrifying tale I prepared for you tonight, we have to do a little toast and a big shout out to Kirk and Michelle Lockman for becoming ultimate supporters of this Poison Tea Party by becoming top tier Patreon members. Woo! Welcome to the Poison Tea Party Society, you guys, and thank you so much. We hope you enjoy all the top tier Patreon has to offer, and we hope you wear that Poison Tea Party merch with pride.
Fuck yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's start the show.
Let's get into it.
What is a haunting? And so if I'm like, okay, what is a haunting, Keely? Like, I don't know. What would you say it is?
Sleep paralysis.
Okay, that's a haunting.
Bitch.
What about you, Trask? How would you describe a haunting?
I would describe it as you got a ghost of some sort.
You got a ghost.
You got a ghost of some sort, whether that be like in your home or, you know, where you work or
In
whatever.
your body.
And it's it can be good or bad. They're not all mean. They're not all like
Yeah, no. Casper was fucking totally awesome and nice.
He was the shit, and he was hot as fuck.
He was.
Devin Sawa.
13-year-old Janet was like,
He can be my future ex-husband.
For
That's
real?
fine.
If you're talking about haunting, no, I ain't fucking with that shit.
what, that show?
That shit.
That shit.
But she's saying it like she's got a dick in her mouth because she's over there fucking stuffing.
Oh, she
fucking-
is. She's really getting down on the Bloody Marys tonight.
Period.
It's a lost soul with unfinished business. It's concentrated energy. It's just the wind. There are many different explanations for hauntings, but these vary depending on the sort of person you're asking.
Yeah, Dad, don't fuck with me.
For real.
You're a jerk face. That shit's fucking
It really
real.
happened.
It happened, bro.
Oh my God. With
was
all the
there.
I know, so many things happened and we would run to our parents and they were like, that's not real.
That didn't happen. You guys have just stayed up too late. You ate too much candy.
Fuck you. That shit. Something grabbed my hand.
You drank too many wine coolers from the fridge downstairs.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. With all the investigations that have been conducted and all the time and energy humans have invested into trying to prove or in some cases disprove the existence of hauntings, at the present moment, it really just comes down to what you believe. Because hauntings are not something that have been proven to be true beyond a shadow of a doubt. Or are they?
They're fucking
They're real.
dude.
It's
Well,
real.
the story I'm going to tell you tonight starts out in a mystery, takes a left turn at weird, and spirals from there until we finally end up in a West Virginian courtroom.
Wonderful.
And by the time the lawyers deliver their final arguments, the United States of America's Court of Law will recognize its very first testimony of an actual ghost into evidence.
What the fuck kind of
Oh
backwards
my god, I know
ass
this
shit is
story,
this?
I think.
I need to hear what it is before.
This really happened. You guys ready? This is the unprecedented case of Zona Hester Shue, or the Greenbrier Ghost.
Oh, okay.
That's what we're doing tonight. Here on
Fucking
the
right
pod.
we are.
This twisty tale begins in 1873 in Greenbrier County, West Virginia, a small area known as the Richlands that sits in the heart of the region heavily shrouded in mystery and folklore known as Appalachia.
Fuck Appalachia, dude. Don't fuck with it.
We will have some of that coming soon. It's just a really big thing to cover.
There's a lot to go over.
I know. I've been trying, and I'm like, oh my god, there's too much.
I haven't even touched it yet because I'm like,
This is like a story of Appalachia. Anyway,
It's a rabbit hole that just keeps going.
for real. A beautiful baby girl was born by the name of Elva Zona Hester, or Zona as she would later prefer to be called. She lived an average quiet existence with her family on her family farm. Zona was one of 5 children. She was the middle child and the only girl, so she was especially close to her mother, Mary Jane Hester. The Hester family worked and survived off the land, making them seasoned farm folk, like many other families in the area. They were known as an extremely religious family, attending church regularly and practicing their Christian faith throughout their daily lives. By all accounts, Zona was a lovely young woman, but she may not have shared the same appetite for mundane country life as her family. Zona would develop a thirst for something more by the time she was 23 years old, and she was looking for a way out. I don't blame her.
I don't fucking blame her
Nope.
either.
She was fucking bored.
West Virginia.
Mountain mama, take me home, country road.
Sorry. I wanted to do that as soon as you said.
Me too.
West Virginia.
Yeah,
But I was
I held it
Wow,
back.
you held it a long time.
I did.
Good
long
job.
time.
I'm super
I
proud
showed
of
some
you.
serious restraint.
I have none of that. I wish I had any of that. Zona was bored and yearning for something more than Greenbrier County could offer. She developed a taste for dating bad boys, much to the dismay of
Zona! You little girl, crazy girl!
much to the dismay of her family and the local community. In 1895, Zona met a man by the name of George Walgrade.
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 Sounds like a douche.
As a result of this short-lived affair, she would give birth to a child out of wedlock. And this, as we all know at this table,
Bastard.
at that time, or pretty much any time, is a big no-no.
How dare you, woman.
Yeah, what a psycho.
What a
She's probably a
sloot.
witch and a slut.
Watch out for her.
George was jobless and could not support himself, let alone a family. When he was confronted about the pregnancy, he stated that he and Zona had, quote, one drunken roll in the hay,
What a douchebag.
and that he could not even be sure that the child was his.
Of course.
Because of this, George was able to escape any responsibility to the child or Zona and avoided the shotgun wedding situation.
Well, good. Fuck him anyway.
Yeah, I'm glad she didn't have to marry that
For
guy.
real.
For real.
There are no historical records as to what came of the child. We don't know if it was a boy or a girl or where the baby ended up, but we do know that this experience changed Zona. After the birth of the child, she seems to have withdrawn from her rebellious ways and returned to life as usual, focusing more on her righteous, steady future. And her mother could not have been more relieved.
That's right.
Zona may or may not have been looking for love when it fell right into her lap in the form of a devilishly handsome man named Erasmus Shue, or Edward for short. He went by Edward. We're going to call him Edward. He also went by the nickname Trout, but I just couldn't bring myself to say that 100 times. So we're going to go with
Mr.
Edward.
Trout.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Mr. Crowley. We're just singing tonight.
Listen, I got music in my
In
blood,
my
in my soul.
soul.
Edward was new to the area and was 10 years older than Zona. He was the son of a well-known and well-respected blacksmith and was quickly earning a reputation for his own work in the same field. But that wasn't the only reputation he had around Greenbrier County.
Uh-oh.
It had quickly come to light through the gossip chain that Edward had been married before.
Uh-oh.
Twice, in
Oh.
fact.
What happened
Of
to him?
course.
What happened to him?
Let's talk about that.
Tell me about that.
His first marriage was to a young woman named Allie Cutlet. The gossip was that Edward had abused his wife so severely that a group of men in the town that they lived in dragged Edward from bed one morning and threw him in a frozen lake as a warning to keep his hands off of her.
Period.
And you know what? Good for them.
I support him.
We need more of those people
I
around.
definitely support that shit. Because what year is this?
So we're talking about 1895.
Oh, yeah. Then this is crazy that they dragged him out and fucking beat him and
'cause
shit.
usually you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, it wasn't
yeah.
even technically illegal to beat or rape your wife until the 19 fucking 40s or 50s or some shit.
And that's why, in the research of this story, they kept specifying that it was so severely because usually back in those days you could beat the shit out of your wife, but not regularly.
Right.
So if you lost your temper, once a month, whatever. But if you were doing it 4 times a week and she couldn't even leave the house without, black eyes and broken arms and all this, then
That's a problem.
Some guys would step in and be like these guys, and they'd be like, you know what? Enough.
Okay.
You know what? Fuck you.
I mean, the old cowboys would do that. Anyway. Edward denied the accusations entirely that he had been abusive to Allie, but he was shunned in the community. So 2 years later, he had a child with Allie, a daughter. But soon after, he would be arrested, and he spent 2 years in jail for horse theft. By the time he was released, Allie and his daughter had moved on with their lives, and they all went their separate ways. Edward's second marriage was to a young 16-year-old
Oh, my God.
named Lucy Ann Tritt. But about 6 months after the marriage, Lucy had died of an apparent accident.
Sure it was.
Edward had been restoring the chimney on their home when a brick mysteriously found its way flying off of the roof into the top of Lucy's head.
I don't buy it.
She died instantly, and Edward was all alone once again.
I don't buy it.
Oh, Edward.
I feel so bad for him. He was all alone, you guys.
Oh, my
That's
God.
so sad.
Shut your whore mouth.
After this incident, Edward decided he needed a change of scenery. He moved to the Richlands, where he met the beautiful and vibrant Zona Hester.
I just want to punch him in his dick already.
Yeah.
Guys, we don't know what's happened yet.
I
We
still want to
know.
punch him in his dick. I just want to.
My God. The two enjoyed an incredibly short courtship before they were engaged to be married. Mary Jane, Zona's mother, was completely against the marriage, however. Edward was twice divorced, he had nothing to do with his first child, and he'd spent time in jail. In her eyes, he had nothing to offer her daughter, and she was insistent that this would not end well. But despite the protests from her mother, mothers know best, Zona and Edward were married on October 21st, 1896. The newlyweds began their life together in a 2-story home just a couple blocks from Livesey's mill in town where Edward found work. It began to look like all the alarm bells that were set off by such a quick marriage had been for nothing. The couple seemed very much in love and were ready to begin their lives. Not long after they moved into their home, Zona fell sick. She was
Sorry. Just
she
a
was
common
under the
theme.
care She was under the care of Dr. George Knabb for several weeks. Although the reason for Zona's sickness was never officially documented by the doctor, it was suspected that Zona was pregnant and was experiencing morning sickness symptoms. Dr. Knabb did note, however, that Edward doted on his wife and was very affectionate toward her during his visits. He recommended extra fluids and bed rest and went on his way.
Well, of course he was, because somebody was there to fucking
Yeah.
witness it.
Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah. I mean,
Shenanigans.
maybe he was really in love.
Janet, shut the fuck up. It's fuckery. There's fuckery afoot. I can feel it in my balls.
I almost spit this out. The bloodies are tasting so divine.
It's a problem because, see, okay, let me just recap here. I
Yeah.
have a glass of wine, I have a Bloody Mary, and I have a beer.
You do, in that order.
Yeah. And I'm drinking all of them.
All of them. They're all half.
I keep going back and forth between all of them.
It's great.
It's so great. So on January 23rd, 1897, it was a chilly Saturday morning in the Richlands. Edward stepped out into the darkness as he left early for work at the mill that morning. On his way, Edward stopped by a nearby neighbor's house to ask the woman who lived there by the name of Aunt Martha, that she was known in the community as that, if her son, a young boy named Andy, would mind tending to the chickens at his home so Zona wouldn't have to. Zona was still feeling weak and under the weather that morning when Edward left for work, and he didn't want his young sick wife out in the cold. Edward asked if Andy could feed them and gather the eggs, and if he would also ask Mrs. Shue if she needed anything while he was out. Aunt Martha told Edward that her son had a busy workload that morning, but she would send him over to his home sometime that morning. Edward thanked Martha and went on his way.
Sounds to me like he wants somebody else to find a dead body of this so that he can have a fucking alibi of some sort. That's what it sounds like to me.
I didn't find her again.
There's no proof of this. Later, around mid-morning, Edward stopped to ask Aunt Martha if Andy had been by his home to check on Zona yet. She apologized to Mr. Shue that Andy was still out and he had not yet been by the house, but assured him that she would send him directly to tend on the chickens and check on Zona for him as soon as he arrived home. Edward seemed annoyed, but he went on his way, and Aunt Martha was surprised when Edward would show up on her doorstep 3 more times that day to check if Andy had been to the house yet.
You had all that time. You could have gone and checked on your own fucking
My
wife.
thoughts exactly. And when I was doing this, I was wondering, what is the distance between, how much trouble would it be for him to go home?
If he can go there 3 times.
Well, didn't you say that it was only a couple blocks?
Yeah, all the research I've done says that these two are neighbors. So he'd been by Aunt Martha's house at least 3 more times to check and see if Andy had been there to check on her yet. She said no, but each time he was becoming more and more agitated that Andy had not been by there yet. Finally, by early afternoon, Andy arrived at the Shue residence. He wanted to let Mrs. Shue know that he would be out back tending to the chickens, but when he knocked on the door, there was no answer. No problem, Andy thought. She was probably upstairs and couldn't hear the knocking, and so Andy let himself in. The house was dark and eerily quiet. Andy stopped and yelled out her name, but there was no answer. Andy took a few steps into the house when he noticed a figure lying on the floor at the bottom of the stairs. Dun, dun, dun!
See, I already knew this. Come on. What happened? What did you do? This poor motherfucker. You sending somebody over to fucking check on your fucking wife that you know is already dead. That's fucked up.
It is.
For real.
The boy, terrified, ran straight home to tell his mother what he'd seen, and Martha quickly ran to notify Dr. Knapp. So the fact that he runs straight home and then they go get the doctor, and then, I just feel like it's just all really in a close proximity.
Mm-hmm.
That was my point, I guess.
It's got to be.
By the time Martha and the doctor arrived to the Shue residence, though, Edward had already somehow heard about the tragic news of his beloved wife.
Okay.
They arrived expecting to find Zona at the bottom of the stairs like Andy had explained, but to their surprise, Edward had carried Zona's lifeless body up to their bedroom where he placed her perfectly on the bed, her head cradled in his lap. And he had changed her clothes into a black dress with a high-collared neck and a veil with a large bow that was tied under her chin with her favorite scarf.
This is some
so
weird
fucking weird
Ed Gein shit.
But it's not weird. So this was a common practice back in this time where they would redress the body. That was a common practice, and then they would put them in their beds.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
After.
Yeah.
But, if it's such a shock and you've been waiting all fucking day for somebody to come check on your fucking sick wife and the doctor hasn't even been there yet, and you know that somebody, because obviously word had to travel, oh, they're getting the doctor, blah, 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 blah. How do you get there, get her dressed, get her all this fucking shit in the bed before the doctor even arrives? Obviously, it was a fucking emergency situation, so I'm sure the doctor was like, fuck.
I'm sure it wasn't like I'll take my time.
No.
It was a quick response, I'm sure.
So how the fuck? So you've been waiting to fucking do this shit.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me.
It was like he put on a fucking show. Oh my God.
And was peeking around the corner to see when it was clear for him to go to the house or whatever. Well, Edward was, say what we want, he was inconsolable. He was completely wrecked, crying and carrying on during the doctor's examination. His whole body convulsed with erratic sobbing as he laid over the top of Zona, clutching his dead wife. He was screaming out and asking God why he would take her from him.
He's a sociopath.
And
Guess
he's
what?
done this before. We already fucking know that he's done
That was
this
an
before.
accident that the brick fell off.
No. And guess what? Sociopaths can act too.
Well, he apparently was doing a very good job.
Back then, men didn't even cry, so him crying could have been not even that crazy, and they would have been like, oh my God, poor man.
Yeah, oh my God, he's so upset.
Yeah,
whatever. So he was crying out and screaming, and he was asking God why he would take her away from him and all that crap. So every time the doctor would get close to examine Zona, because they have to do an after-death examination, Edward would become just more upset, just inconsolable, just even crazier raving than he was before. And it was understandable, the doctor noted, that his young wife had unexpectedly died terribly. It was a fall down the stairs, and it was just
Traumatic.
upsetting. Yeah, traumatic.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, to any normal person.
and I would be the same if I found somebody I loved.
I wouldn't carry you up the stairs and change your clothes.
No, but that was something they did then.
And I would definitely let the doctor do his examination.
And make sure.
Give me all the details. What do you know? What happened?
Right.
Whatever.
That is one thing that I would be like, you have
if
to
you
do
killed your wife, you're going to put on a bigger show each time, they're going to try to take the body from you. Because then he knows, oh, if I cry more and I cry more and I cry more. Well, then the doctor's going to go give him space.
But then also, if he's not been guilty of things in the past, and then he's always been...
I mean, they had no reason to suspect this guy of anything.
He's probably like, oh my God, again, this is happening again.
Well, he moved away, too. They don't know his past there.
They do know, though. They knew it.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, it was gossipy. They didn't know, but they sort of knew. As any small town is.
I mean, at this point in time, there's no real reason to suspect him of anything because his wife was ill. People knew that. So there really was no reason. We are on the outside looking in, so, but no, right. I mean, I get it.
So after his examination, the doctor did conclude that there were no signs of life. Since he had been recently treating Zona, like Trask just said, for her illness, he determined that she had tragically succumbed to something called everlasting faint.
Oh, Jesus
my God.
fucking Christ.
And that was listed as the official cause of death.
These fucking people in the 1800s
I know.
are just fucking
everlasting
on crack.
faint. Like, what is that? Exactly.
Let's put arsenic in all of our fucking shit, and you've succumbed to everlasting faint.
That's like Oregon Trail shit.
For real. What the fuck even does that mean?
Dysentery.
For real. What the fuck does that even mean, bitch?
Sorry.
Dr. Knapp expressed his sympathies and left Edward to grieve his deceased wife. Something to note, later the doctor would change the official cause of death to childbirth. The reason, because they thought she was pregnant.
Yeah.
The reason for the switch is unknown officially, and with the doctor's documentation lacking as to why he had been previously treating Zona in the first place, many believe the doctor knew her to be pregnant at the time of her death, even though there is no official record stating so, aside from her death certificate citing childbirth as the reason. We do have a quote from the young boy, Andy, who found Zona's body.
Poor guy. Let's hear.
This is what he says. Quote, "Going to the house, I felt something was wrong. All the doors were closed, and there was an air about the place I did not like. Reaching the steps, I saw a small trail of blood. That scared me, but I went to the door and knocked anyway. No one answered. I tried it, and finding the door unlocked, I walked into the kitchen. The trail of blood continued across the floor to the dining room. This door, too, was closed. Once more I knocked, and getting no answer, I walked in. I stumbled over Mrs. Shue's body. There she was, stretched out on the floor, looking right up at me through wide-open eyes. She seemed to be laughing. I was frightened, but still able to reach down and shake her. She was stiff and cold. I ran from the house, and I called across the field to Mama. 'Mrs. Shue is dead,' end quote." So, across the field,
right?
These people live, they're like literally next door neighbors.
Super close proximity,
a huge thing, he finds the trail of blood outside of the house.
Yes. So that was...
The guy dragged his fucking wife from wherever the fuck he bashed her head in at.
I mean, I feel like he didn't drag her from there. I feel like he had it on him and somehow...
You would see a bashed-in head. The doctor would have noticed that. Yeah. Don't you think? It was like bloody...
I feel like the husband
Well, if he tried to do the little brick trick again... And he had one little
brick trick.
Blunt force trauma.
Put it on a shirt.
Mm-hmm. The brick trick.
Oh my God. So there are actually a lot of clues from this description that he gives finding Zona's body, as Kaylee said. Mm-hmm. I suppose they could be seen from many different perspectives, but obviously the trail of blood sticks out. The doctor makes no note of any wounds on Zona's body after his examination. So it's easy to determine he probably concluded the blood to be the result of a miscarriage, which is why he changed his official the official cause of death.
He changed the official cause of death because he didn't want to lose his fucking medical license for being a dumbass and putting everlasting
This is
faint.
the 1800s. You know what kind of fucked up shit you'd have to do?
I know.
You don't lose your medical license.
No.
Plus, he's probably the only doctor within like a fucking 300 mile radius.
Yeah.
So, but the doctor did state examining Zona was difficult due to her grief-stricken husband and his unwillingness to let the doctor get too close. Mm-hmm. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but with the blood present at the scene, I think I would have insisted on a closer, more thorough examination as the doctor before making that decision, but that's just what I would do.
Me too.
So the day after Zona's examination, her body was taken to her family home on Little Selwell Mountain to prepare her for the wake and burial in the coming days. Zona's mother, Mary Jane, was completely grief-stricken, understandably. Mm-hmm. She knew she had a bad feeling about her daughter's new husband all along, and the moment she learned of her daughter's death, she responded with, "The devil has killed her."
Oh,
shit.
Mary Jane's about to come up in this bitch.
That bitch was like, I'm not having it.
Wrong.
Nope.
But Mary Jane's emotional outbursts were easy to explain. She had just lost her young daughter, who she was incredibly close with, and that was enough to make anyone go looking for answers. But still, something didn't sit right with her. She felt Edward was acting unnatural, erratic, and even theatrical in his reaction to his daughter's death. Mary Jane's suspicion only grew in the coming days, with odd demands and behavior from her son-in-law. Mm-hmm. First, Edward forbid anyone from touching his wife's body. he remained close to the casket, almost lurking during the service, continuing with over-the-top grieving. Edward,
Oh my god. I would have slapped this fucker in his fucking face.
I'd be like annoyed. I'd be like, okay, you're
Get
not
away
the
from me,
only
bitch.
one that's sad.
Right,
Stupid
like, you
fucker.
We're all
stupid little
fucking grieving.
pussy.
Plus, I mean, okay, grieving, yes, absolutely. Am I going to be absolutely fucking upset and devastated if something happens to my husband? Yes, I will. Am I going to be psycho, laid over the top of him, not let anybody fucking go anywhere near him? No.
No, I'd be more zombie-like, I
Me
would
too.
assume. Yeah.
Also, how long were they together again? Wasn't it only like not
It wasn't long.
like not even
Like-
a year or something? I don't even know.
So I think they were married, if I remember right, October.
Regardless, I mean, whatever. You know, because people did things hard and fast in those times because they didn't have, there's not a lot of life to live, so you got to do things quickly.
So they were married in October, and she died January.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah,
no.
come on, dude.
This is very,
It's a show. He's
Boom, boom,
putting
boom.
on a show.
it's kind of insane.
Mother knew.
Mother knows.
Edward
best.
did not leave his wife's side during the entire wake or burial. He did not leave. He didn't even leave to pee.
'Cause he didn't want
The dude
nobody
was there
to
the
look
whole
at
time.
her.
Yeah, exactly. He also propped her head in an uncomfortable looking position with a pillow and a folded sheet to, quote, keep her comfortable, end quote.
What the fuck?
Yeah, this
Kinda
guy's got
strange.
some fucking he's Delulu.
But it was noticed by friends and family who came to pay their respects that Zona's head appeared unnatural on her body.
Yeah, no shit.
She also had a bruise forming on her cheek that seemed to develop out of nowhere. But despite all of this, the rumors swirling through the community about Edward's explosive temper, Zona's death was ruled to be nothing more than a tragic accident, and it was a case of a young woman's life ended too soon.
Lies.
Or was it? Bum, bum, bum.
No, this shit is all lies.
It's real.
I mean, yeah, it
It's
fucking
real
happened.
life.
I mean, it happened
It's
for
really
sure.
happened.
For sure. However, this motherfucker.
However, she
needs-
was murdered.
So what did I say at the beginning? I feel like he needs to get his dick chopped off or something
Yep.
along those lines.
You probably said that.
Listen, I've had a lot to drink since this has started, and I can't remember what I said.
That seems probably
But that
plausible.
seems like something I would have said.
Yep.
And you know what? I stick with it. I
You're
stand by
doubling
it.
down on that?
Doubling down.
And I think you're right. After her daughter's burial, Mary Jane was given the pillow and folded sheet that was used to support her daughter's head during the service, and she attempted to return them to Edward. That's something that happens when someone dies and people put things in the casket. Sometimes there'll be a pillow, and they'll give the things back to the family in case they want them. She tried to return those to Edward, but he refused them, saying that he didn't want them. So Mary Jane took them home. When she went to wash the sheet, she claims that there was an unmistakable stench of death that rose from the wash basin, and soon after, the water turned blood red. Just as fast, in the blink of an eye, the smell and the blood red water disappeared, but the sheet remained stained pink.
Oh, fuck. Are you scared? What the fuck is going to happen
Oh my God, what the fuck was that?
I'm scared.
It was like a real thing all the way up until that.
Right.
Now we're getting
I'm scared.
daydreamy or something.
Now we're getting into ghostess territory.
I'm scared.
Zona's coming through.
This sent Mary Jane into an even deeper state of grief and terror, no doubt. She just knew something terrible had happened to her daughter.
Yeah.
And this vision proved it. It was a sign. Night after night, day after day, Mary Jane lived in a deep depression. And who can blame her? Losing a child in any way is not how any of us parents imagine things will play out.
No.
The loss was great, so great, in fact, that she thought she might never recover without an explanation. So she did the only thing she knew might bring her comfort. She prayed. She prayed endlessly to God to bring her an answer of what really happened to her precious daughter. And then, one dark night, as Mary Jane laid down to go to sleep, a bright white light appeared in the corner of her bedroom, and then quickly faded away into the darkness. Mary Jane rubbed her eyes, but thought her mind was playing tricks on her. The next night, Mary Jane says Zona appeared to her, not as an apparition, but as though she were alive, like as
Human
I am
form.
to you. Yeah. She
Reach
was,
out and touch a bitch,
Right.
kind of alive. Yeah, I feel you.
She was cold and stiff to the touch. She did reach out and touch her, she says.
She did reach out and touch a bitch.
Yep, she did. This happened for 3 nights in a row. And over the course of these next 3 nights, Zona told her mother the story of what really happened
Fuck
to her.
yeah, she did. Chop his dick off.
She was like, Mama,
This shit happened.
You need to be getting this motherfucker. He's a fool.
She said the night before her body was found, Edward had returned home from work to find that she had prepared dinner, but that there was no meat to go with it. That's what meat.
That's not her fault.
That sounds like a him problem.
Yeah.
This sent Edward into a complete psycho rage.
And tantrum.
Edward grabbed Zona around the throat in an attempt to choke her, but his grip was too strong and he broke her neck. He staged the scene and left her there for others to find, which that's kind of what we thought too.
Yeah.
Before Zona left her mother on that final night, she stood in the doorway of the bedroom and turned her head a full 180 degrees on her body.
Oh my
Hell
God.
no.
Nope.
Y'all bitches better never do that shit to me. I'm just saying.
I'm definitely
For
gonna,
real.
I'm gonna.
I'll get the point from the story. I don't need a picture about it.
I don't need the visual.
No.
Janet's gonna get a ghost from me.
I'm
for
gonna
sure.
get a ghost. Oh my God.
I'm sorry,
I
not
don't want to
sorry.
get a ghost.
I'm gonna throw your shit all over the house.
I'm gonna need one. You'll probably just have to stay and live with me as a ghost.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then
we're
I'll
gonna-
tell these guys about it, and they'll be like, "Mom's
Yeah.
really losing it."
We're gonna have our own tea party after death tea party.
That's right.
After
fine.
hours.
fine.
After hours. So she turned her head a full 180 degrees on her body, and Mary Jane took this as a sure sign that her neck had been broken.
Well, yeah,
Because the story wasn't enough, so now I'm
Fucking
really
A.
sure. So let's be clear at this table.
Jesus, okay.
If my dead daughter
Yeah.
ever appears to me spinning her head around and
Yeah.
shit, I'm going to be declared clinically insane
Yep.
at that point. Am
and
I right?
I'm not
Yeah.
responsible for what may or may not happen to the man afterwards.
Oh, I
Yeah,
am
for
responsible.
real.
I want to be.
I'm definitely responsible.
I'm going to be like, write my name on his tombstone because I killed that
Put
motherfucker.
your fucking hands on my daughters or my nieces, and I'll chop your dick off.
I will homicide you.
I will homicide you.
And
Write that
Ended.
down.
Yeah.
This is my confession.
It's when I thought I said I looked the same. Sorry.
I'm
So
not.
these dreams or visions, they seemed absolutely terrifying. So the next day after the final dream, Mary Jane went to the county prosecutor, his name was John Alfred Preston, and begged him to open an investigation into Edward Shue and exhume her daughter's body. Preston said he couldn't just do that without any evidence to support a very good reason. And Mary Jane began to tell him,
Oh God. Now she
About-
sounds like a crazy.
I know, but
That's sad.
she must be pretty,
Convincing?
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So Mary Jane begins to tell Preston about being visited by her deceased daughter. She told him the story and about her broken neck, how she was real as he was sitting in front of her right then. She was absolutely certain Edward had murdered Zona, and she demanded that he do something about it.
Fucking right.
Queen.
Within days, Preston pays a visit to Dr. Knapp.
Oh.
Okay. Let's hear it.
The doctor expressed that it did bother him. Well, I'm glad to hear him say this, that he wasn't able to conduct a complete examination on Zona after her death and admitted that there could be something that was missed. After their conversation, in order to put the community rumors to rest and be sure that a thorough investigation had been conducted, Preston ordered Zona's body exhumed and a full medical examination be performed.
Fucking right. Go them.
That's
because you
incredible.
know what? This does not fucking happen.
It
even
does not happen. It doesn't
even
happen
now.
now, and it didn't happen then.
No.
For sure.
Fuck the doctor.
Unless they wanted to find a vampire
Yeah.
or something.
Oh yeah, we forgot about that. And eat their burned up organs and heart
Yeah.
and things. That's weird.
And fuck the doctor for not admitting the shit until someone
Well,
asked
I mean,
him
somebody
about it.
asked
Well,
him.
good for him for actually,
Yeah.
eventually admitting it. I mean,
Yeah, I
he
mean,
could
I'm
have been
sure
Sure,
like,
the power to
But
do
you
it,
have
though.
to you have
It's
to
so
think about it
annoying.
too. Like just because you think something is weird and nobody else is saying anything, so he's probably like, okay, that's not weird.
right.
So, and this is a long fucking time ago. So yeah, that's how I wanted to look at her too. So he's probably like, okay, no, I'm just going to fucking keep my shit to myself because, you know, nobody seems to be bothered by this. But the second somebody comes and asks him, he's like, yes.
He's
this
like, well, you know what?
actually,
Yeah. It was kind of odd, and it did bother me that I didn't get to examine her body fully.
and good for him.
Yeah, good for him. So The exhumation, this was not a common thing at the time. Like Tross said, it's not even a common thing now, but it for sure was not at the time. So a body being dug up just days after burial to be examined was something out of a fucking horror novel to these people.
Sure, it brought a bunch of fucking
People were like, oh, hell no.
Oh my God.
For real.
Yeah.
Superstition ran deep in the hills of West Virginia. Remember, we're in Appalachia. Or Appalachia. How do you say it?
I say Appalachia.
Appalachia.
It's Appalachia.
I'm going to not be an asshole, and I'm just going to say Appalachia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 And no one wanted to be the one to disturb the dead.
For reasons.
For reasons
that we will talk about at
we will
a
talk
later
about
date.
at some point.
Don't go down that road.
As a result, the prosecutor had a difficult time finding men to assemble as a team to carry out the exhumation. Such a hard time, in fact, that he had to resort to threats of prosecution of justice against the men assigned to the job if they did not comply.
But they still did it, which is amazing that he actually went that far because they wanted it exhumed, which is even crazier.
It's so mind-blowing to me that they had to be like, you motherfucker, you have to do this. You have to dig up this body or I'll put you in jail.
Right,
I'll put you in
But
jail.
that's how bad they wanted it exhumed. So they had to all have
like
their
it was a
fucking-
real thing.
Yeah.
Like for real. The entire community was buzzing with the drama of what would come from this. On March 9th, 1897, about a month after her death, Zona's body was fully exhumed and a medical examination was performed in a local schoolhouse.
Oh, God.
Yeah. It's kind of
Those
weird.
poor children.
Right? Well, they weren't there.
They didn't
Or
need
were
to be
they?
there.
And I'm sure they knew what
They were
happened.
like,
in
oh my
their-
God, that body's being fucking tore up in our fucking classroom.
They were like, Mrs. Johnson, was Zona's body on my desk?
I think I felt her touch my shoulder. I need to go to the bathroom.
I need to go to the bathroom.
Sorry. Edward was ordered to wait close by under the guise of being her first of kin, but the prosecutor wanted him close at hand in case the investigation turned up something sinister. Initially, Edward objected to the entire exhumation.
Of course.
Of course he did.
Citing all the obvious reasons a completely innocent husband would. Quote, I want her to rest in peace. We shouldn't disturb her. This is morbid. I loved her and would never have harmed her. This will make her spirit restless. This will haunt the community and our family. End quote.
And
The Ramseys.
what you did to her definitely won't. Fuck the Ramseys.
The
We're not talking
Ramseys
about
be
them.
like,
No, we're not talking about them. So privately, Edward was overheard, though, telling several witnesses that he knew he was about to be arrested, but
oh my God.
but that he wasn't worried because no one would be able to prove he had done anything.
Exactly.
cut this out.
So automatically, you're fucking guilty, motherfucker. Chop his dick off.
Chop his dick off.
Still saying it.
Words like that could be taken one of two ways. Those on Team Zona would hear no one could prove Edward did it because he'd covered it up well enough.
Right.
And those on Team Edward would hear no one could prove he did it because he didn't.
didn't.
So there'd be no evidence of it.
Did he do it?
Did he?
Did he?
He did.
He did.
He did. He did.
Edward sat in the corner of the schoolhouse, unbothered.
Oh my God.
He was whittling a piece of wood.
Who let him in there?
Well,
like-
they wanted him close by so that they could fucking arrest
Yeah,
his
they
ass.
wanted him there because they
Oh.
wanted to
But
arrest
what a
him.
fucking douchebag. Whittle your fucking wood, you
He
little
was
piece
whittling
of shit.
wood in the corner.
If
Isn't
I
that
was-
so unbothered, like
If I
What a
was
piece of
Mary
shit.
Jane, I would be like, oh, you don't want to come up here and I'll like cradle her head? Oh, yeah, where's your tears?
oh
Oh.
in that voice too. If you,
don't
don't
wanna,
do
like,
the voice, then it
give
doesn't
her
count.
a hug and like whisper
my God,
sweet
and the
nothings
eyes that you're
to
giving me,
her?
too.
Did you see me?
You're freaking me out.
You guys were doing. I was.
No, straight up. I would do some crazy ass shit like that if I
Kaylee.
was her mom.
Oh my
Kaylee.
God.
I'm
Are
crazy.
you okay?
No.
She's not okay.
She's not okay.
I would bust this motherfucker's fucking head open.
She's very
Same.
mad. We
Same.
did it. We got one. I didn't know if you guys were gonna hook onto this one, but
Listen, I have had wine, vodka, and beer, and I'm just here at
if
this
you
point.
mix
Just here.
vodka and beer,
you're gonna have a good time.
you're gonna have a good time.
You're gonna be like Cowie, whiling out.
Whiling out.
Did you just like not want to cradle her head again?
Edward sat in the corner of the schoolhouse. He was unbothered. He was whittling while the doctors went to work on his wife's seemingly fresh, lifeless body. The cold of the winter had preserved her to almost pristine condition, and she looked just as she had the day she was buried.
But she wasn't a vampire?
Well, they didn't even say that. No, and isn't that strange?
So they knew that the cold preserved her.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, y'all want to fight with me on every podcast.
And maybe it just
It was
depends on, like, the community.
Listen, we're in West Virginia.
They should be vampires there.
No, because that's up North Rhode Island area.
Oh, yeah.
So they're just extra fucking derp up there, I guess, and they don't fucking know that
No,
cold...
we love you from Rhode
I'm just
Island.
saying, listen, we're talking about the 1800s. We ain't talking about you today, people.
No, you guys know that
But-
vampires are only a thing sometimes.
So they didn't know?
I don't know.
They didn't know. They had no idea.
Well, they knew that.
But they did in West
also,
Virginia.
she hadn't been buried very long. Like,
Neither
at
had
all.
some of them, some of those stories about
Like,
the fucking...
fresh.
She wasn't no vampire because she was preserved.
telling ya.
Because guess what? The cold preserves things.
Yeah. Which
Sorry.
we know
They
today.
just already
That just
knew
made
this
me
shit.
mad because,
It's a
like,
thing.
how do they know in West Virginia that cold preserves?
I told you, Aunt Tracy.
Because there's a bunch of mountain mamas, and that's what
They're
happens.
all fucking dumb.
Mama, take me home, country road.
They studied her stomach contents and found nothing remarkable. Andy, the young boy who discovered her body, was actually present for the exhumation.
This poor fucking kid, dude.
As well. And he made the following observation about what happened next. And I'm kind of glad he was there. So this is what he has to say. Quote, Dr. Knapp was working around Mrs. Shue's head. I could see Mr. Shue was getting more nervous. Suddenly, the doctor turned to Mr. Preston and they whispered together for a few minutes. Then Mr. Preston turned to Mr. Shue and said, Well, Shue, we have found your wife's neck to be broken. Mr. Shue's head dropped. A change came over him that I can't explain, but it certainly proved his guilt to me. End quote.
This child
You
was
know-
like...
You understand,
You
though, back in
guys-
this day, if you're 12, you're a man.
Yeah.
You're not a fucking
No,
child
I'm saying,
no more.
like, this child was like
Yeah, I mean, he knew.
she was murdered.
Listen,
Yeah.
they're built for it different in those days. Okay?
But everybody else was like, we don't really...
No, not everybody.
I think it
Her
maybe
mother.
became more of a thing, like, we don't want to believe that. They probably knew that, but didn't want to believe
I mean, that
it.
happened a lot. I mean, shit just got swept under the rug
It
because
still
it's a lot
happens.
of paperwork, Kaylee. People don't want to fucking
Yeah,
deal
I
with
don't
that
want
kind
to
of
do
shit.
paperwork.
People
I
are
don't wanna
lazy
do
as
that.
fuck.
I don't want
all
to do
the
that.
time.
I'm lazy as fuck. You got something to say about it?
So, an article of the local paper, this paper is called the Pocahontas Times.
Oh.
Isn't that kind of fun?
I love Pocahontas.
I love it. That wasn't our best.
That was the worst I think we've ever done. Cut my mic out of that one.
Cut it out of
Thanks.
that.
Leave it in.
So the Pocahontas Times, they made a statement, quote, on the throat were marks of fingers indicating that she had been choked, that the neck had been broken between the first and second vertebrae. The ligaments were torn and ruptured. The windpipe had been crushed at a point in front of the
And
neck.
that's not going to happen from a fucking fall down the stairs.
And how
Where it
fucking
was,
hard
how
do you
about
have
the
to grab someone
lividity?
for
They
that?
probably didn't say anything about lividity.
No, I don't think lividity was fully a thing yet. It was a little
Oh.
bit, but that was a more of a that came, and it was actually pretty soon. But
Yeah, but no, your windpipe isn't going to break from a fall down the stairs. That's an actual like choking
Yeah.
thing.
That's so infuriating. Like how hard you have to fucking grab someone's neck or what, shove them against a wall or whatever you have to do to them.
And you have to hold them
crush
there
it.
for...
It's really not.
Yeah, but you're fighting with your wife. That means you grabbed her way too hard.
I mean, yeah.
That's
I mean,
my point. It's like, I mean, if you're fighting with,
What,
I don't
and
know.
does it take like 2 minutes to choke someone out all the way?
I don't know.
No, this is what it says. Temporary or permanent brain damage can occur in as little as 30 seconds. Brain death can occur in 4 to 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I don't know that Edward allegedly, when he did this, if he meant to kill her, I think he was just furious and lost control. And
yeah, because he's a douche.
yeah. So Edward Shue was formally arrested right then, and he was held without.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah, I think it was cool of him for just to take him right then.
Fuck that guy.
They held him without bail for the murder of his wife, Zona Hester Shue.
Good. Applause.
Good.
Applause. While awaiting trial, Edward grew increasingly hysterical and was even put on suicide watch. He ranted with claims of his own innocence. Meanwhile, the prosecutor, Mr. Preston, was trying to build a case against Edward. But this was proving to be a difficult task, especially since the only evidence that he had against Mr. Shue was circumstantial and sounded insane.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, like, you know, just, I don't know, the whole wife thing to me, this is all like groundbreaking shit in my personal fucking opinion because of the way that they're taking this shit so seriously in those times. Like,
yeah,
you know, yeah, it would be hard. It would be hard to build a case against a man murdering his fucking wife, especially in these times, and for him to be found guilty. But just the fact that they're doing it is just insane to me.
So the evidence that the prosecution had against Edward was the testimony of a ghost.
Yeah.
And that his mother-in-law, who hated him, claimed to have seen, there was hardly any way this was going to get proven, right?
Right, yeah.
And aside from that, no evidence. Like, what's the evidence
right,
then?
I know, yeah. And because what are you going to do? But, I mean, you know, there's no witness. Because there was no fucking witness.
Right.
But, like, you know.
I mean, besides his strange behavior.
Correct. And, you know, the boy being like, she was like this, and now she's like this. And, you know, just his, basically the only shit that they had was, like, his demeanor, like, afterwards. Because,
which is telling, but also when someone's in an extreme grief like that,
yeah, it's hard to.
Everyone acts so differently. Like,
do.
I've seen people do some really strange things that I'm like,
I've seen some people do some fucked up shit.
and you're just like, oh, they're grieving.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm going, man, I don't grieve like that.
Yeah, and oh no, I've totally said that too. But also, I've never experienced anything where I thought someone murdered someone, but I have been like, oh, that's kind of a weird way to be sad.
Right, right.
You know?
But then you got to think like these times too, and because there's nothing. It was him and her, and they were only married for like a couple of months.
Yeah, like no time. And why are you fighting like that?
Correct.
3 months in or 2 months
of time
in.
because she didn't cook you meat.
That's so insane. You should still be like, oh, I love
honeymoon
you so
phase.
much.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just insane.
It's so weird. And yeah, no, there's no witness testimony, like legit witnesses. So
yeah.
How do you prosecute that?
Well, the trial began on June 30th, 1897. Preston chose to stay away from the testimony of Mary Jane Hester, which was probably
in his best
smart thing to do as a prosecutor. They just stayed away from that whole story of her daughter's ghost.
Right.
Instead, he focused on the way that Edward insisted on carefully wrapping Zona's head in the casket and his odd behavior up to and following the funeral, how his grief seemed to magically melt away just days after the death, which we didn't even cover in here, but he just acted like nothing happened. There was even jailhouse testimony that Edward had told fellow cellmates. Now, this is where you got to just shut your fucking mouth, right?
Right.
Idiot. That he would never be convicted, and it was his goal to marry at least 7 women in his lifetime.
Oh my God, he's Ted Bundy.
So he's on number 3.
Yeah.
By this time, everyone had heard the rumors of Mary Jane's account, though. How her daughter's spirit had visited her and told her of Edward's guilt. Even the jurors were almost certainly aware of the stories. This was, again, everybody lived in a community. Everything's pretty close-knit. It's hard to find a place that doesn't know about what's going on in this story. But the prosecution chose to steer clear of the tale regardless, and they rested their case without addressing it. Finally, the defense would get their turn.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm
already fucking annoyed.
They began by offering several different theories as to how Zona's neck could have become broken. During the dressing of the body, when the body was put into the coffin, or possibly the 15-mile-long wagon ride to the cemetery, which that does sound plausible.
Okay, but you should be able to tell whether this was post-mortem or not, especially in this time, shouldn't you? There's sciences.
Oh, because of the healing.
Yeah,
there's no
and that's
healing.
what I was going to say was the healing, but
with a broken neck, you're almost sure to be dead, right?
Almost, yeah, instantly.
Like, does anybody live when they have a broken neck?
I mean, yeah, I've had friends that have broken necks, but not to the point where their windpipe and everything was broken.
Yeah, once that
So,
happens, you're a goner.
Yeah. I mean, unless you have immediate medical attention.
Yeah.
But
And proper care. Like, if somebody...
not 1800s care.
Not 1800s
No.
care.
Like, if he really did just come pick her ass up, he could have killed her then. She could have been alive.
Yeah. I mean, I know that nowadays we can tell whether somebody's bones were broken before or after death, but I guess I don't know if they knew that then.
Yeah, I don't
How
know
to
either.
tell.
And I don't know when that comes into... They probably had some kind of idea, but I'm sure, like we said, there's no healing.
Well, because like the bruising.
And with a crushed windpipe, it's not.
Right. And bruising, when they see bruising, I guess it's like because they had to be alive because the bruise had to form, and the bruise couldn't form if they were dead because the blood's not pumping through the body. So just that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So the defense, they presented all these opportunities for such an injury to occur. But the story of the account of Mary Jane Hester was just too much for the defense to ignore.
Oh, Jesus.
They made the choice to address it, to prove Edward's innocence. To prove he was targeted by his mother-in-law, the defense called Mary Jane to the stand.
That was probably the
Yes,
biggest mistake
queen.
of their fucking...
Dumba with a capital B.
They're fucking stooped, but whatever. Go ahead.
They are stooped.
You did it to yourself.
For real. Why would you call the mother of the fucking
Because
woman that
they
you
were
murdered?
like, she's going to sound crazy. Also, she has it out for Edward.
Blasphemy.
I mean, she might, some of her shit might be a little bit crazy, but at the end of the day, if she presents it well enough, guess what, bitch?
The goal was to let her tell her story, and everyone would finally get to hear the unbelievable story for themselves. Then they would methodically punch holes in the story and prove once and for all that Edward was an innocent victim himself in all of this.
He's not a fucking victim. He needs his dick chopped off
You do be needing that.
for maybe the millionth time this whole fucking episode.
Literally.
The prosecution did not object to them calling her as a witness.
All right.
Preston had heard the story for himself, and he found Mrs. Hester to be completely credible. So credible, in fact, that he exhumed
the
a body, which was a rare thing to do.
Right.
So he allowed for the witness to
Absolutely.
be called.
We're not
He
going to
said,
call her, but you know what? You go ahead and look like a fucking
"Yep,
dumbass.
if
that,
you want to do it."
that was all in his... He had that shit in his
Yeah,
pocket.
this was a game plan, I
It
think.
was,
Yeah.
I think.
As Mary Jane told her story on the stand, the defense lawyers attempted to pick and pull apart her story. They tried to rile Mary Jane in order to fluster her and hopefully make her fumble somehow.
But that was her baby girl.
But she did not.
Right.
She remained calm and told her story as though it were gospel. She stayed polite
Period.
and dignified throughout the entire ordeal, and because of this, made a huge impact on the jury.
Mm-hmm.
The jury itself believed in the evidence and a mother's intuition, and perhaps most importantly for Zona, in spirits. Folk tales of ancient mountain lore had mesmerized the people of Appalachia for generations, and they believed and still believe to this day in the powers of ghosts and spirits.
Fuck yeah, they do.
The defense rested its case, and the jury would return in less than an hour.
Good for them.
That's iconic.
Isn't that nuts?
He's guilty as fuck, ain't he, Janet? Come on.
Edward
Come on.
Shue was found guilty for the
Fucking
murder
right
of
he
his
was.
wife, and he was sentenced to life in prison.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. See, listen, I know we have a lot of
Bye-bye.
fucking whatever, but I would much rather a motherfucker be sentenced to life because then he has to sit there and
Yeah,
fucking
and
suffer.
think about what you did.
If you give them death, then you just give them a sweet fucking release from
Yeah.
their fucking shit.
It's kind of a way out.
Make
Yeah.
them fucking pay.
Yeah, I agree. Totally
I'm
agree
here
with that.
for it.
But
Oh, no.
justice for the Hester family was short-lived when on March 13th, 1900, only after 3 years in prison, Edward unexpectedly passed away, a victim of an unknown epidemic. That's the only reason I could find. Probably something like
Spanish flu or
Yeah,
fucking
or
something.
tuberculosis or
Oh,
something
yeah,
like that.
TB. That was the
Or-
day before my birthday.
Yeah, that's crazy, huh?
That's nuts.
victim
I mean, I
of-
wasn't born in 1900, but
I was gonna say.
What
Yeah.
do we know?
nah, I mean,
What do you know?
I'm a witch, bitch.
So there were never any more reports of Zona's ghost ever being seen or heard from again. Mary Jane never changed the story, though, that she told of Zona throughout her life, and it's thought that after the conviction of Edward, her spirit was finally at rest.
Yes.
And this case goes down in history, everyone, as the very first and only case in America to include the testimony of a ghost and and in a conviction of the suspect.
Yeah.
So what do you
iconic.
think? Did
I-
Edward kill Zona?
Absolutely,
Yes.
he did. I've been saying it this
He
whole
fucking
time.
killed her.
I said it right at the beginning.
I know. Or was it a miscarriage with an accidental broken neck?
No.
Did she break her neck after death?
No.
No. Me neither.
Mm-mm.
No matter what our feelings are and opinions, we have to admit that there is no way this case would stand in court today.
No, and I hope somebody did chop Edward's dick off.
I hope so too. And maybe it did happen.
I'm hoping
Probably
that it
did.
did.
There's almost no solid evidence to prove Edward's guilt beyond the shadow of a doubt. I, for one, am glad this case went down. In the highly superstitious community in Richland, West Virginia, shout out to you guys.
Absolutely. There's nowhere better for this to have taken place,
For real.
honestly.
In the late 1800s, because that asshole was guilty.
He's guilty.
Chop his dick off.
And if it would have happened like this today, they would have never secured that conviction.
No, never.
Even if he only served 3 years before he died.
At least he died in prison like the fucking scum that he was.
He was.
Fucking
I
piece
find
of
comfort, as I'm sure Mary Jane Hester did, in the fact that Edward spending his final years in prison and he was never able to hurt anyone again,
Anyone
like he
else.
hurt Zona.
Yeah.
So that's going to do it for this episode of the Poison Tea Party podcast. We are so thankful that you could join us tonight. Don't forget, if you have any spooky story suggestions that you would like to hear or any feedback that you want to give us, you could head over to the website at poisonteaparty.com and click the contact tab and drop us a line or two.
Please
Or
fucking,
7.
please do. Like, we love to hear from you guys. Nobody ever fucking contacts me.
Well, they do, but
I
Tross
know.
doesn't read the...
I don't. I always ask my sister. I always like any emails, and she's like, "Bitch, you can look at the emails," and I'm
You
like,
can't
"I
look at
don't
them."
do that." Because
Don't worry, I'm here for you. Email me.
Janet's here for you. I'm a princess.
So, but if you want to talk to Tross, just say that in the message, and I'll make sure she gets it. Or Kaylee. Make sure Kaylee gets it.
For real.
We love hearing from you all, and we want to include you in our conversations however we can. If you want to help support the show, click on the Support the Show tab, and it'll take you over to our Patreon page, or you can go to patreon.com/The Poison Tea Party. That's where you can become an official member of the Poison Tea Party Society. There are 3 different tiers to choose from, and each tier gives you a different perks.
Yeah.
At different price points. Depending on your tier that you choose, you gain access to some pretty cool stuff like exclusive Poison Tea Party t-shirts, stickers, and even a coffee mug. Shout outs on episodes like we did on this one at the beginning. And all members are eligible to access our bonus show called Extra Poison. I want to be clear about that. We had some questions about if you, whatever tier you choose, you get access to the show. Yes, every single tier gets access to the bonus show.
And it's a whole other show. Like, I know we haven't talked about this much on like the original, like our actual podcast here, but the whole Extra Poison, it's an actual show like we're talking right now.
We're still perfecting and doing some things
I
over
mean,
there.
it's
We're
a
trying to
little
get
more
better.
crazy.
It
It's a
is
little-
crazier. And
It's wild.
we are very poisoned at that point when we get to that show,
Absolutely.
so don't judge us, but it's also kind of fun.
But also, fuck with us at the same time.
But we're trying to like tweak some things and get a little better at that for you guys. But anyway, it is an extra show. It's more Poison Tea Party. We've heard that you guys wanted more, so we just give you that show as a bonus. And any tier that you choose from Patreon has access to that show. And a quick thank you to everyone out there who's sharing the podcast with
Thank
fellow
you.
obnoxious friends and family.
Yes.
We're growing, and it's all because of you. You're talking about us. You're plugging us. The steady growth just keeps our little hobby going, and we love hearing how many of you actually enjoy being a part of this with us. So thank you, darlings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all.
appreciate
We do appreciate that. That's all for tonight, folks. So, as we say around here, what is it that we say around here? Oh yeah, you've been poisoned.